Hey, everybody, welcome in. It is time for Three Guys Before the Game. This is our Virginia Tech preview, our Black Diamond Trophy preview.
That's still out there?
Yeah. It's in the locker room right now there at the Mountaineer football complex. It's sitting in the locker room.
Chain it down.
Ain't gonna don't even bring the trophy with you.
Nope.
Did we forget something? Did we forget something?
Trophy? What trophy?
What trophy? We're just going to keep it here. Three Guys Before the Game, episode number 402. Being brought to us in part by Comax Business Systems, your full-service Konica Minolta dealer. You can check them out at comax.wv.com. That's comax.wv.com. Later on in the program, we'll do listener text, and had a couple people refer to Comax during the text portion of the show.
No, you did.
Really? Yes.
Everybody's in on the joke, man.
I mean, they're in. Three Guys is also brought to us by the Burdett Camping Center, the only warranty forever RV dealer in all of West Virginia. Buy a vehicle from them, and the warranty lasts forever. Like forever. Like forever with a 4. Visit them at burdettcamping.com. 2 T's next to Burdett Camping. That's 2 T's right next to each other. So last week, the Burdett in-game promo was that they were going to pay out $50 for each West Virginia touchdown pass. Well, that's freaking awesome because the Mountaineers scored 9 touchdowns, but only 3 of them were in the air. So that would have been $150. But wait. Phil over at Burdett said, just in case, we're going to give away $400 as a minimum prize, as some would say, irregardless. Some would say that, irregardless. So here's the deal, folks. It's in effect right now, $400 off on parts, sales, and service for you at Burdett Camping. Just go in and say, hey, this lasts for a week. So don't be holding your water here. This is now. Until Saturday. Go in, say, hey, I want the Three Guys special, and you got $400 off when you spend $1,000 on parts, sales, and service. Do you know what this week's promo is?
No.
That's a really good one.
Creative.
Very good creative one. This week's Burdett promo for the Virginia Tech game on Thursday is take Bryce Ford Wheaton's receiving yards, multiply that by the number of touchdowns, and you got bingo. So if Bryce gets like 100, and let's just do simple
110,
math.
120.
Yeah, let's just do 100. Just keep it simple. Let's just go 100, and he scores 3 touchdowns, 300. Pretty good night. Right?
By the way, I'd take that right now.
Yeah. Well, might get some chances.
What, 100 yards and 2 touchdowns?
He's had 103 touchdowns.
Oh,
I'd take that like right now.
Even better.
Well, he might have opportunity because the Gobblers, they come streaking up the field. They put a lot of pressure, so there might be some man-on-man coverages back there. You might have some big plays.
Well, we'll get to that. Defense is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers indicate
The numbers indicate that they are very good. So good to have you here with us, folks. We're going to jump into a little bit of Towson, and we're going to do some tech, and we're going to do listener text questions and comments. Final score coming out of the stadium on Saturday before a crowd of 50,703, 50703. West Virginia 65, Towson Tigers 70. I'm sorry, 7.
70.
Had you there for a second, didn't I? 65-7 the final. Defense doesn't allow a touchdown. Special teams allows a kickoff return. Ouch. But nevertheless, West Virginia had the ball 10 times, scored 10 times. That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
That's pretty good. 9 touchdowns, 1 field goal, 1 missed extra point. That's how you get up to 65 points. Hoppy Kercheval, was that just what the doctor ordered?
Oh, absolutely. The macro is there are probably about 4 scenarios there. One is you lose, which we would have immediately gone live and still be broadcasting live right now if that had happened. The second thing is you win, but it's 10-7 at half, and you're sluggish. You end up winning 35-17. Okay.
Yeah,
the other one is you win big, but it looks sloppy and there's mistakes and And the other one is what happened. And that is you roll. I mean, absolutely roll. And everything looks good. I mean, except for the kickoff return, you go, wow, the defense pitched a shutout. The offense, quarterbacks, are all throwing touchdown passes and running for touchdowns. It's a beautiful day. The crowd's into it. You could not have asked for a better bounce back than that. That was perfect. I mean, I don't watch the tape to see if somebody missed a block or somebody ran the wrong way or something like that. But just from a viewing standpoint and from just watching the game, that was perfect. You could not ask for anything better than what you had.
Senator.
I don't know that I can add anything different than what he just said. I think that's dead on the money. That's the exact performance you needed back. You did what you're supposed to do against an opponent that you're clearly better than. There were no cracks other than the kickoff return. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Offense was good. You got a lot of guys in. Saw some new names defensively that you're probably going to need to see moving forward. I thought that's exactly what the doctor ordered. You get a win. And here's the thing. You knew that was going to be a win. You mark it as a win. You count it as a win. You move forward. But I do think that gives the collective group over there a better feeling heading into this prep week, right?
Yeah.
You quiet the noise down for a little bit. Everybody felt good. We commented on this during our coverage. When so many people will take those, we do this all the time around bowl games, where some people will poo-poo the bowl game you're in as it's not a big deal, and then you win a bowl game, and what's the team do? They go bananas and they celebrate because they won a bowl game. And I thought that was in play against Towson the other day. There's some that'll just gloss over this. That's how we beat FCS team, move on. No big deal. Did you watch like Nico Marchiol after he threw that touchdown pass? Or Preston Fox? You think they were excited? You think they were still into the game? So I think it gives a good feeling to everybody in the locker room. All those guys got in. Overall, a near perfect, if not a perfect day for the Mountaineers.
Okay. So you get that. You got your W. Now you're 1 up and 2 down. And on Thursday night in Blacksburg, you've got the opportunity to even the record at 2-2. Wonderful, wonderful challenge for the Mountaineers. Personally, I think it's the best atmosphere in college football. Of course, excluding West Virginia, because I'm sure there would be people, if I said that would lose their mind and write 72 texts if I didn't say West Virginia.
They
got
have
it down. They got it down to a science. And so this will be, now the Pitt game was a great precursor to this, but this thing is going to be volcanic when it gets going on Thursday. So you've got that to deal with. And so it should be just a fun opportunity here for West Virginia. Still trying to figure out both of these teams. That's the reality of it. Yes, West Virginia is 1-2, but the combined record of West Virginia's opponents so far is 7-2. The combined record of Virginia Tech's opponents at this point is 2-7. The Hokies have a loss to Old Dominion. They beat Boston College at their place in a night game, second week. And then they beat the Terriers of Wofford on Saturday in business-like fashion. Statistically, you still don't know, but they do have gaudy stats. 1.5 yards allowed per rush. Ooh. So where is that? They're not going to have 1.5 yards per rush the rest of the season, but what is that number? Are they a dominant rush defense team, or are those numbers skewed at this point? We're going to all find out together.
Yeah, and I think that's the first matchup you look at right there is that defense on paper that's looked very good for Virginia Tech going against what has been a really potent West Virginia offense against both all three, really, against Pitt, against Kansas, against Towson. And it's running the ball really well. If you go by our PFF grades, this is a top 30 run offense in West Virginia against a top 6 run defense in Virginia Tech.
Excuse me, could you say that again?
Top
now that's
30.
Wait, that's Pro Football Focus. Now that's an independent grading service?
Yes.
Now could you repeat that again?
A top 35, top 30 graded rush offense for West Virginia for a group that's been much maligned over the last 3 years. So running the ball effectively so far.
Yeah, and the reason I'm just kind of messing with them on that is I don't know where it's going to be as the season goes on for West Virginia, but there has been obviously significant improvement in that department. Now, how much better, we'll find out as the weeks roll on, but that is at least an indication that the thing is getting better. That was huge going into this year. Can they prove that they can run against the good teams?
And I think that's the first question down there, because as we know, if you can do that, you're going to be able to throw it. I think this passing offense is shown from a pass blocking to a receiver to the quarterback. I think you're going to move the ball through the air. The question just becomes, how many points can you get? What's it take to win? What's this West Virginia team going to be? Is it going to have to – did we move the bar from the last couple years where it's 30? Get to 30 and see what you can do. You feel you're in good shape. Where is that bar? Is it 35? Is it 38? And I think that's what you still don't know. The defense did what it needed to do Saturday against an inferior opponent. Where is that overall? Where's that defense come in? And what's the number you need to get to offensively? That, to me, is still the biggest question that lingers out there.
Mr. Kercheval.
Yeah, I had a call. I'm sorry.
Anything that we can do? Take care of your calls while you're doing your podcast?
Sorry,
anything we can help you with? Anything like that?
My apologies. Look, the numbers on the Tech defense do look good. Like you said, they're giving up 1.5 yards per carry. I think they're only giving up 40, 45 yards rushing per game. They're only giving up 12 or 13 points a game. But you don't know. You don't know how good BC is. Probably not very good. Old Dominion lost to Virginia. Wofford is. I mean, I thought that Tech game against Wofford was what I feared that the West Virginia game could have been against Towson, because Tech was sluggish in the first half. It was sluggish. Yeah. They could drive the ball, but then they would stall, and it didn't. Not until the second half did they get greased up. So I don't know if it was a flat spot for them for some reason, or they're just so you don't really know yet. Going back to the atmosphere, that Thursday night there, and you compared it to Pitt, it's going to be tougher than Pitt because there was 60-40 West Virginia fans, and just by ticket sales, you won't have as many West Virginia fans there. They'll be there and be making noise, but Tech fans will dominate, and that makes a difference. That place gets loud.
Yeah, it's going to energize them. There's no question about that. How much of a difference that makes remains to be seen.
See, real quick, you make an interesting point there about how that Tech against Wofford, because that's one, if you're a Tech fan or the Tech folks, they had to go back at night while they're going back film going, okay, we'll take the win, but that wasn't exactly where we needed that to be. That's one of those, as you start to look at them, 17 points against Old Dominion, then 27 against Boston College, and then come back with 27 against Wofford. So it's that performance of what early, I may be dead wrong when you get there Thursday, but that's the performance of an offense that you go, okay, they're still trying to work some things out. Their offensive line needs to come together. They need to cut down on their turnovers is one thing that has plagued them. They don't feel, looking at them, as if they've found their rhythm offensively. So that matchup versus that West Virginia defense that hasn't found its rhythm yet either, that will be critical. Yeah. If you're asking for confidence level on the units going in, to me, West Virginia's offense is the one you feel most comfortable in of the 4 units in this game, don't you? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think you've seen enough from that group. I would be most surprised if the West Virginia offense really struggles in this game. You've already been on the road. You've already been on the road in a highly charged environment. You've already been on the road against a really good defense. So let's say Tech's defense turns out to be really good, and it's a tough environment, and it's on the road. You've seen that. Mm-hmm. These guys have been through that once. I think this is back to, it didn't pan out against Kansas, but when I was asking, is the strength of schedule going to pay some dividends? This is where you would hope it'd pay some dividends. You're not whacked out by the entrance, as great as it is. You're not whacked out by the crowd because you've already done that. You just did it a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Hopefully, if you're West Virginia, that pays off this week.
Let's close the book one time on Towson. Neil Brown at his press conference earlier today, which is Monday, made comment regarding how many players West Virginia was able to get into the game.
Offensively, Tomas Rimac did a really nice job on the offensive line, playing a bunch of snaps versus Towson. Going back, I was pleased with Jalen Anderson. All 3 of the backup quarterbacks that played felt like it in the game, but going back and watching the film yesterday morning, I was pleased with how they performed. Traylon Davis did a really nice job being physical in the run game, and that was a big confidence booster for him as well. And then Preston Fox, he went, and that was a great catch at the end there. It was a really impressive catch. Pleased that we got Cortez and Jeremiah extended playing time. Defensively, the guys, Mike Lockhart, we played him a lot. He needed to play. He's played in every game, but we played him extensively in the second half there. I thought he continues to grow and he's getting in shape. Caden Beiser did a nice job. He's our leading tackler in the game. He's performed well in practice, so that was good. Talked about Riley Collins. And then Jacoby and Lamp. I think they continue to progress, and we'll continue to use those guys moving forward.
There you go.
That's
Neil Brown.
There was a lot of names there of guys that you had. I mean, we were watching the game, had to go down the depth chart. Like, wait a minute, who's this guy?
Big John Ray's son got in there,
John
played
Ray's
almost
son.
the whole second half. Dylan Ray.
How about the fact that Caden Beiser was the leading tackler?
Well, world champion Mohegans. I mean, they got Caden Beiser over there. He's just running everything down, tackling people. Preston Fox, he's running
everything
around there. I mean, he's looking like, pass catch extraordinaire. Happy to see that.
That first game where there were drops, and then the last two games, and there were some great catches. The Preston Fox catch, the Smith,
Caden Prather's catch.
Reese Smith on the sideline? Yeah.
That was a great catch.
There was three. Caden Prather's first touchdown wasn't the easiest catch in the world.
No, it wasn't. No.
Jeremiah Aaron fell down and caught it on his backside. Reese Smith caught it going backwards. You're right. There were some big boy catches.
And then add to that, Cortez Braham almost had maybe the best of all of those.
Man.
When he had it, hit the
Yeah.
ground, the ball was laying next to him. I was surprised they didn't go to review and give him the catch, though.
They hadn't brought
I mean, the ball was sitting 3 yards away from him, I realized, but I thought maybe you'd get a review on that for a catch.
Did you see what happened? Did you see what happened on the first replay review? Could you guys tell on TV?
I don't know if I remember the first replay review. Did I lose my mind on that?
Well, I don't know. You lose your mind frequently on
the first replay review. There was no monitor.
Huh.
There was no monitor, and so the official was just kind of going like, "She had the headset on, but he didn't have the monitor out there." And Dwight Wallace said, "Well, I was told that this was a split crew." And I said, "Well, problem might have been like they got their signals crossed because I thought Bob was bringing that monitor. John, you're bringing the whistles. Bob's bringing the monitor. Where's the monitor?" But they found it. By the second time, they found it.
On officials and official calls. And in fairness, who caught the pass where they had their toe in but their heel out?
Bryce Ford Wheaton.
Okay, Bryce Ford Wheaton. And we lost our mind saying, well, the toe's in. And then you check the rule, and it's a weird rule because if you catch it and you drag your toe out of bounds, you catch and your toe's in bounds and you drag your toe out of bounds, it's a catch. But if your toe is in bounds and your heel comes down out of bounds, it's not a catch.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I did not. I thought toe down was a TD.
Correct.
But if the heel comes down, it's
it makes sense.
Catch.
I get it. I mean, I understand.
I don't.
It's the reverse drag.
I don't.
But they're waving off the reverse drag.
I don't get that. Makes no sense. If your toe's the first thing down and it's down, they didn't hit simultaneously. The toe was down. Andy, loyal listener, the official. Yeah, he texted in to say that was the rule.
Yeah, that's the rule.
That seems like an odd rule though, because you're right. If you drag it the other way going out of the end zone, eventually your foot's coming down, right? Your foot has to come down. So your foot came down out of bounds, but they count the toe drag.
I'm sure.
But why don't you count it the other way?
I'm sure they have some rationale as to why, because there's probably a scenario we're not thinking about. But they'll say like, because if you did that, then you'd have. I'm sure there's a reason.
That was a great catch. I mean, the ability to catch that going backwards and still get a toe down.
It's a great catch.
Oh,
yeah. Hey, one other thing before we let it go is because there were just a lot of fun things about it. One of the most fun was all those guys that got to play, and he mentioned those players. But for the fans to see 4 quarterbacks play, I mean, does that ever happen? And 3 of them throw touchdown passes, one of them run for a touchdown, and you're sitting there going, okay, Green's in. When's Crowder coming in? Oh, Crowder's in. Okay, when's Nikio coming in? I mean, that was the storyline, was it not, Brad? In the second half,
for fans that always clamor for the backup quarterback, he got 4.
4 deep.
And you're right. I think that was the impressive part. All of them performed really well. Garrett Green did what he does. He runs, right? Was great with the legs. Goose Crowder comes in, was perfect.
Stroked it.
Nico throws that perfect ball to Preston Fox, who made the great catch. That was an unbelievable throw and catch.
I'd have to go look, but someone said that Goose Crowder did the same thing in a game last year. He went out, threw it perfect, and then just stepped off and said, "Good to see everybody. Thanks for having me." So he might be 2 and 2 on drives.
Good
and
for him.
I saw a couple of those quarterbacks high-fiving each other on the sideline. They didn't care it was Towson.
That's what I mean. Nico in particular came off and was high-fiving Preston Fox jumping. That's great for those guys.
Yeah.
Happy for all of them that got in. Defensively, real quick, Jacoby Spells got some run. 30-plus snaps for him. We talked about him all week that he was going to get in.
Sure.
Mumu got in, had some nice clock. So see how those guys do moving forward.
That's huge because they're going to have to play, man.
Yep.
They're going to have to play. 3 guys before the game brought to us by Comex Business Systems. It's nice to earn an honor once or twice, maybe even 3 times. They call that three-peat, right? They call that three-peat. How about 10 times? Like, how about if you win an award
Celtics.
10 times, and you're the only one to ever do that?
You were the GOAT.
That's Comex Business Systems, because this year, for the 10th time, they've been named an elite dealer by ENX Magazine. No other West Virginia business has ever done that in that space. So congratulations to Comex. They do so many other things. To say that they're an office supply business would be like saying Hoppy Kercheval talks on the radio. Just much more diverse, much more dense in thickness to that talent level. Because we all know that Hoppy's a 5-tool player. He's a 5-tool broadcaster. Comex is a 5-tool business. They offer managed IT services. They'll take care of you. Managed voice and phone services. 24/7 remote monitoring. So if you're a business owner, they can make you feel great and comfortable knowing that they've got your back. Check them out. ComexWV.com. Senator. By the way, that name constantly, we get into these texts. Senator might be getting retired. I mean, Spreads is coming on. And let me tell you something, dude. If, in fact, Spreads does become your permanent new handle, number one, talk about suiting you perfectly. And I love it because it's so gangster mob-like. Like there's Paulie Bananas, right? There's Fat Tony. There's like Jelly Bean Skimmy. And then there's like Spreads. Like, who'd you get that from? I got it from Spreads. He says it's under. Okay, Spreads said it.
Spreads had an incredible weekend, by the way. I mean,
he's high step. He was high step.
Unprecedented weekend.
You're high step.
He says that we get on him if he loses, and that's true. But I mean, props to Spreads because he just cashing tickets all weekend.
Thank you, Hoppy. Now don't talk about it again. I don't want to jinx this weekend. Thank you.
You're
only as good as your next weekend. Only as good as your next weekend.
He's only as good as Monday Night Football is tonight. That's it. He's only as good. Are you doing anything on Monday night?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay.
I'll look at it here in a little bit.
Give me some numbers on the Gobblers.
So let's talk about the lines here for a second because there's been some interesting movement on this. If you were looking early and felt good about West Virginia pre-Towson, like Saturday morning, you could have got West Virginia in a look-ahead line against Tech at plus 2.5.
Oh, yeah.
West Virginia plus 2.5. It has since moved, pretty much painted -3 across various books right now in favor of West Virginia. Wow. So you got West Virginia going in as a road favorite.
So if someone would have jumped on that Saturday morning, they're playing with a 5.5-point spread right now.
Yeah, and I saw that. I don't know how many books it was available. I actually saw it here in the state on FanDuel's app. They were doing a look ahead there, and then once kickoff started for Towson, they pulled that down, of course. But you could have got plus 2.5. Should have hopped on that.
You know what I don't like about that?
-3.
You know what I don't like about that movement? Now Tech's a home dog.
And I don't know that you like that.
You
don't want Tech as a home
I know,
dogs.
you don't want Tech
it makes
as
you
home
nervous.
Dog. Yeah.
Here's some other numbers though. Just historically, West Virginia, WV over its last 30 games as a road favorite. Last 30 is a road favorite.
30 is a road favorite.
19-11 straight up. 13, 16, and 1 against the spread.
Ooh.
But 19-11 straight up. Under Neil Brown, 2-2 straight up as a road favorite, but both wins over Kansas. 1-3 against the spread under Neil Brown as a road favorite. They're just some numbers to look at.
Yeah, that's
not
a big sample size on Neil Brown, but that's still a concern.
No, but line movement-wise, it tells you kind of what we were saying there, that you look at West Virginia against an FCS and Tech against an FCS, all things that West Virginia looks like the better team there. Flip that. Got to get some.
That's going to be, Brett, I'll be interested to see how that goes because that's a tough play. Maybe they'll stay away because it's a rival game and the lines switch back. I mean, I wonder if anybody will even play. I mean, well, people will, but I mean, that's not going to be an attractive play.
Yeah, I think what you want to watch is does it come back down from the 3 a little bit as people look at that Tech atmosphere is going to get played up here all week. Home dog. So you got atmosphere and home dog for Tech. I think if you look at the two teams, like we said, you're most confident in that West Virginia offense. You want a piece of the over or the under? 52.5-ish.
So they're talking about like a 27-24 type of a game.
Right in that 51 range. 30-27 would tick you over, but maybe a little too high.
Say no one's getting 30. That's what they're saying. Well,
so keep an eye on that.
Very interesting.
But we've said both teams have struggled stopping teams in the red zone. Finishing drive success for the opponents for each team have been really high. We've talked about that with West Virginia. Coming into this game, they had not stopped anybody inside the red zone.
Right.
Pre-Towson, so that's part of it too.
Do you feel numerically you can get a good feel on Tech yet, or is it difficult because of the Old Dominion and Wofford game?
Whole new staff, Old Dominion and Wofford mixed in there. Boston College makes you slow it down. They don't have a high-flying offense. They're going to limit what happens within the game a little bit. No, I don't have a great numerical feel for Tech. And you probably don't for West Virginia either, although I feel like it's better because of your first two opponents. And hey, how about the Kansas Jayhawks, the world champion Kansas Jayhawks? Headed to the playoffs. Congratulations to them making the playoffs.
I mean,
goodness gracious.
Jalen Daniels winning the Heisman.
Yeah, Jalen and Lance Leipold is going to make $132 million next year. He will be the highest paid coach now on Kansas campus. Well, Bill Self, we're sorry. Got the greatest coach ever to coach over here. I mean, how about the role they're on? They just went in and just hammered Dana. Said, "Get out here. Don't no problem here. We'll just take this one.
Go home.
We'll just take this win too."
Because when I saw the West Virginia Kansas and I watched that and I thought, oh wow, West Virginia's really struggling. But is Kansas any good? I mean, Jalen Daniels looks pretty good. They had a good plan, but so you don't really know. You say, wait a minute, but it's still Kansas. Then they go on the road and they beat Houston, and you watch, you go, oh, okay. Well, actually, they're not bad. I mean, Leipold is obviously a good coach. He's had success. Jalen Daniels is a good quarterback.
That's the difference.
He does some things. I mean, he does. I mean, a quarterback that has played some games, Tony, and can run and do the RPO and can get out there. That's a problem. And it was a problem for West Virginia. It was a problem for Houston.
That's the difference. What they've done, credit their staff and their offensive coordinator, who's been with Leipold since Wisconsin Whitewater. They pulled the covers off of Jalen Daniels, and now they're saying, all right, the field is yours. Go run with it. Go throw it. Go run with it. And it made him a two-tool quarterback, which is a real problem. In our Always a West Virginia Connection story, in the game on Saturday, you may have seen that situation on the Houston sideline when one player attacked another player. Well, the player that got pushed down is former Mountaineer Sam Brown. He was with us up until last year, and he was recruited by Dana, stayed, and then left at during last season. So he was the one that got knocked backward after committing that 15-yard penalty. Mm-hmm. And always a West Virginia connection, of course, of course.
That was ugly.
Yeah, you don't see that too often, and they got a situation there. And then, obviously, coming up on Thursday, you talk about a West Virginia connection. The starting quarterback for the Hokies, Grant Wells, a very familiar name, GW High School, Marshall, and now went portal and is now the starting quarterback for Virginia Tech. During his press conference today, Neil Brown said that he likes him a lot. They're running Grant Wells some, and Neil said that he's starting to see some of that stuff Penn State did offensively, because their head coach came from Penn State. Some power run stuff like that. They're seeing Tech using some of that, and he threw a bunch of picks in their opener, but has been accurate in the last two games. And right now he's got 4 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions so far. So I'm sure a huge game for him as well. To meet up against West Virginia.
Also in the Always a West Virginia connection category.
Yeah, sure.
More Virginia Tech connections. Mm-hmm. Brent Pry's dad, the new head coach, Brent Pry, who you just alluded to, came from Penn State.
Yeah.
His dad went to Marshall, played football at Marshall, was an assistant coach, graduate assistant on their staff, spent some time at West Virginia Tech after that. Also, Hoppy was the head coach at Lewis County High School.
What?
In Weston for 4 years. Where Brent went to school there in Weston for
first I've heard
4
of
years. So you got a connection there.
What
his dad,
is
Jim,
it?
longtime 40-year coach in the business.
What is it with West Virginia? I mean, seriously.
So there's one.
Hoppy, they're either coming
one.
or they're going.
That's
One of the
incredible.
two, Hoppy. One of the two.
No, never mind.
What?
No,
You can't start. There's a new rule on this podcast. You can't start something, and we're going to induct that. We're going to enshrine that new rule. You can't start something and then pull back. Go.
Okay, well, I want to do this in I don't want to do this in poor taste, but because of the West Virginia connection, frequently if there's a national, international story, I think, I wonder if there's a West Virginia connection. And then with the the passing of the Queen, I started thinking, I wonder if there's any West Virginia. I didn't come up with any.
I was going to say, don't even tell me you found one.
No, I didn't. I stopped myself. I thought, no, don't. You'll spend all day trying to find one there and not find one, or maybe would, but.
Yeah.
Well, there's some significant ones coming up against Virginia Tech. And then obviously going the other way, Doug Nestor, of course, transferring in. This will be his first time back in Blacksburg playing there.
Absolutely. And by the way, Neil Brown said today, he was asked, I was going to play it, may play it, don't know if I want to play. Well, heck, I might as well play it.
Well, you just said you can't bring something up.
That is
stop.
exactly
so go ahead.
true.
Your own rule almost went by the wayside 10 seconds in.
I'm glad that you called me on that. Okay, here's what Neil Brown said today when asked which players have improved the most from last season to this season. And he responded,
I think Doug Nestor is playing at a high level right now, and he did at times last year, but he's been more consistent with his play. Wyatt Milam, from an experience standpoint, is much, much better offensively. Justin Johnson made some strides. Going to defense, Jordan Jefferson, and it really kind of started at the end of last year. He's playing well at that interior spot. In the secondary, all those guys, they're going to get better the more they play. But Aubrey Burks, for a guy that really only played part of the year last year on special teams, he's had moments of really good football for us.
Hey, did he address either after the game or today the inability to kick the ball in the end zone?
no.
That's a thing.
There hasn't been as many as you would have thought.
No.
Yeah, touchback-wise.
Yeah.
Yes.
Danny King got some opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably that is harder than it looks, isn't it?
I'm
It's
sure it
harder
is.
than it looks because
What? To kick in general?
To put that ball consistently, like the reality of it is, right? So I'm trying to think of it. I think that Parker Grotehouse was in the 30 percentile range, maybe 33, 34 at Florida State last year.
Okay.
So 1 of 3.
Okay.
But what's interesting to me is like it's 1 of 3, right? In other words, like there isn't someone like Janikowski.
Is that what he was Saturday?
I don't know what he was on Saturday, but I mean, he only kicked the first half because then they put Danny King in. But my point is, very few guys just absolutely drill it. Now, you would have to go back, Brad, to Sebastian Janikowski when he played at Florida State for Coach Bowden. One of the all-time great stories. Remember Sebastian?
Longtime Raider.
Yeah. Sebastian got in trouble when they were at their bowl game. And
I think it was a Sugar Bowl, if I remember correctly.
The media was all over that. And they wanted to know if he would be sitting Sebastian Janikowski for the bowl game. And Bobby said, excuse me? Suspend him? No, he's going to play. He didn't kill anybody. So on Saturday, Parker Grotehouse kicked it off 7 times, 1 touchback. Danny King, 4 kickoffs, 1 touchback. Parker Grotehouse's average was 61 yards. Danny King was 49 yards. So, how about, but you know what?
I haven't double-checked.
The cat from Kansas, or the cat from Towson, I should say, he was 2 of 2. Both of his were touchbacks.
I haven't double-checked this, so take it with a grain of salt, but I'm showing here 6 touchbacks on 20 attempts.
1 out of 3, basically.
Which is what you say was fair. Is that? So, for
Is
what
that
that's
what it
worth.
is?
Again, I haven't double-checked that.
Maybe
but
I'm over expecting
maybe
too
you
much
are.
there.
You got to be jumping on the kickoffs of all the things going on. Jumping on kickoffs.
No, that's an okay question. Because here's why that was a fair question. Because there was a lot of talk from Neil himself over the summer about addressing that problem. And we've talked about this before. West Virginia was the 2nd worst starting field position team in the country. 2nd worst. So he specifically went out and addressed that. He said all offseason.
That was a great question by Hoppy.
Yeah.
Well,
all offseason. So that was a fair question to ask. Should we be seeing more of those? That was okay.
And in these close games, let's say you're at Tech and West Virginia scores and it's 24-21, and then you kick off and the ball goes to the 8 and they run it to the 40. It's deflating. I'm once again stating the obvious, but.
No, you're all right. You're good. A couple of things. Neil Brown, we were talking earlier about atmosphere, and Brad alluded to this. How much will the Pitt game help West Virginia on Thursday.
At Pitt, credit to them. They did an absolutely incredible job from a game management standpoint. Music, videos, it was loud. I mean, it was super loud. I haven't been to Blacksburg. My assumption is it's going to be every bit as loud or louder. But our guys, they've had to perform at least one time, and then we've got several. I mean, we're going to go to Austin. We're going to go. So we've got some loud games coming up. We'll do some things in practice today and tomorrow to prepare for it. But I know it's going to be loud. It's going to be a fun atmosphere, especially on Thursday night.
All right, one more here from the head coach, and we'll get into some texts. Well, two things maybe. Virginia Tech's offense. What's his skinny on the Gobbler offense? What do you say, Neil?
They want to find ways to run the football. That's who they want to be. Physical. They're well coached. Do a really nice job in the run game. Multiple tight ends and multiple running backs are going to play. The running backs, it's a really nice stable. It kind of reminds me of the Kansas room. They've got 3-4 guys that can play, can give 2-3 tight end sets. The converted quarterback, number 4. He's played some Wildcat quarterback this year, too. He's a guy that you got to know about. Receiver Smith has made a bunch of plays. He's been a little bit banged up. We assume that we'll see him. He's made a bunch of plays down the field. And then the quarterback, obviously, some of y'all know really well from being here in state. Played well as a 2-year starter at Marshall, and he can run. He's athletic. Played really well last week. Threw the ball accurately. And so we've got to be prepared for him.
All right. That's his rundown.
See, that'll be interesting to watch that run matchup because we've seen two teams try and run it against West Virginia. Kansas had a ton of success running option and getting on the edges. Pitt tried for the most part, biggest part of that game, to run at West Virginia up front, and that didn't work. Mm-hmm. Tech is probably going to be closer to the Pitt formula than they are. They're not going to put Grant Wells on the edge to run the option. So can West Virginia handle that run a little bit better? Right, and contain the run, which takes away the play action a little bit, which should then allow you to get some pressure on Wells, maybe force a turnover or two.
Yes, so I think you'll see more of West Virginia with 4 down linemen, try to even up that front. So he said 12 personnel, so what he means there is single running back and 2 tight ends. So West Virginia may have to go with his 4 down package there. So you would think that that's something that West Virginia could be suited better off.
I mean, I don't know that Tech will come out and huddle and run the play clock under 5 like Narduzzi and Signetti did for the first chunk of that Pitt game, but I do think you should have a better matchup, I would think, run defenses versus rush offense.
Last word from Neil on the Gobblers defense.
They like to pressure. They're really good on the D-line. Got 2 defensive ends that can really speed rush, fast off the edge, athletic at D-tackle. They play 4 in there, and I think they're all quality players. Their Mike linebacker, number 4, is playing at a high level. Really one of the most improved football players I've seen this year compared to last year. You can tell he's really spending a lot of time studying. He's got really good ball get-off. He's playing off running backs and tight ends, doing a really nice job, making a lot of plays for them. And then their boundary safety, Peoples. He's one of the better tacklers we'll face all year. He's really good in the run and the pass game.
There you go.
Dax Hollyfield's number 4, second highest graded Tech defender, almost a 90 grade, 87 grade overall so far for him.
Did you see how Neil dropped in that one classic coach word?
What was that?
I mean, you go get a dictionary. Go get a dictionary and look up ball get off. I mean, he's got great ball get off, right? And like we sit there and go like, yeah, I know exactly what it means. But I don't think if you walked anywhere else and go like, hey, how's your ball get off? I don't think they're
football
quite
lingo.
Yeah, that's football lingo 1-on-1, right? That's what it is. Yeah. You guys ready for some textual healing? Do we need textual healing today, or what do you think?
You always need a little textual healing.
Yeah. Let's do it then. Here we go. Textual healing on 3 Guys Before the Game is brought to us by no one. If we had a sponsor here, we could put it in and we'd say sponsored by and by. If you're a business and you're looking to sponsor something, this would be an idyllic situation for you.
But what they should do, text the text line.
Yeah.
If you want to sponsor the text line, text the text line. Let us know. We'll reach out. We'll give you a call.
This is how your ad would sound.
We have some unofficial. Oh, go ahead. We have some unofficial sponsors.
Hey, everybody. Time now for Textual Healing on 3 Guys Before the Game. It's sponsored by Turtle Wax. That hard coat shell, it's Turtle Wax. And by the Spiegel Catalog. Over 60,000 quality items chosen just for you. It's the Spiegel Catalog, Chicago 60609. All right. That's how a sponsorship could sound for you, Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner. We'd love to have you. Now we're getting, I'll show you later, or we'll share this later. Texters making suggestions here for businesses to sponsor something.
We had a high-level audience here that texts.
That is probably
High level.
That's probably the biggest surprise for me in the 402 episodes of what this show has become. Not that it's going to see 800, but of the 402 episodes is how this part of it has taken off. The listeners and the messages that we get and the response. That's the biggest surprise.
Well, it's a personal connection.
Yeah. And you're getting a great personal connection from two hosts, myself and Brad, that have been out in the public eye and are very warm to people and out there. And then I think perhaps the biggest surprise is the Ice Prince is with us as well.
You know what, though? You probably have to chill on that.
Excuse
no
me?
pun intended with the Ice Prince there.
Yeah.
Catch that chill.
Why, did you see him somewhere?
Well, but he was out last week. He was at a big-time event with a major celebrity over at the, where were you, the Mountain Lair?
Mountain Lair with Chris Starwell.
He did interact with a bunch of people. Well, we have to back down for a few weeks.
Paid an extremely large paid an extremely large honorarium to be there.
That's
but
okay. Whatever it takes.
Nevertheless,
I would just say,
sure, go ahead.
And you probably shouldn't do this either, but that if there are any texters who, in the rare occasion, did meet me, and that I was not warm and friendly. Okay. Of course, there probably aren't very many. And the few that did thought I was Tony, so didn't.
Hey, Brad, has anyone ever misidentified you lately?
No.
Excuse me?
Nobody's misidentified me.
Did someone misidentify someone that we know as you?
I've heard that happened, yes.
What happened?
Well, I heard Coach Hunter was out around town talking to people and was greeted with a "Hi, Brad."
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that happens.
Actually, my name's Greg.
Happens.
You ready? Here's our first text. Pete in Pennsboro writes emphatically, "All right, damn it. Listen to me.
Oh, here we
How do you dance around this Hoppy thing and the Apothecary Ale House and not state the obvious? Hoppy Kercheval. It's clearly the perfect name for an IPA. Furthermore, how are there 3 to 4 microbreweries in Morgantown and this already hasn't happened? In my Vince Lombardi voice, what the hell is going on here?" He's right. Why doesn't the Apothecary Ale House have a beer that's called Hoppy Kercheval?
Great idea.
Well,
but here's why.
You need to come to some name, image, likeness agreements, though. I mean, that's not just automatic. There's got to be some name, image, likeness agreements for Kercheval.
Yeah, with all due respect to the Apothecary Ale House, they just sell it. We need a brewery that makes beer that they can sell, but it needs to be called. We will open negotiations. Would you
like with Is it Chestnut?
Chestnut Brew Works.
Chestnut Brew Works?
Yeah.
Really is a good idea. I mean, that should happen.
Why wouldn't you have a beer called a Hoppy Kercheval?
Well, I'll tell you this. Certain beers are more hoppy than others, and that hoppy, Brad, you're not a big beer drinker, but that hoppiness is a very distinct flavor. As we like to say, a little hoppy goes a long way.
There's the tagline, even. Ads are being created. NIL DMs are open for Kercheval.
That'd be a great idea.
Free beer.
Those brewery people are interesting.
Don't give away your rights just yet. It's like playing football in $1 billion business for a free scholarship. It's not enough.
Hey, listen, if you do this deal, you'll have to grow one of those beards that all those dudes that make micro brews, they all have the big beards. You got to have probably one of those.
Open things. Start back through with the Apothecary.
We'll take care. I'll talk to Grace.
We'll open negotiations.
Texter says, "Hey, three guys, you've often discussed how Coach Nealon turned down Ohio State. Rich Rod spurned Alabama. But now you and Hoppy are Hall of Fame status, basically owners of hugs like lifetime contracts at West Virginia. Have any gold standard programs nearly wooed either of you from our beloved Mountain State? Inquiring minds want to know."
I'll give you a quick answer is that sometimes people will be very, very generous to me and they'll say, you stayed in West Virginia. I'm sure you had other opportunities. And I say, not really. I was never. No. I think I can only recall in my lifetime, I think I only had 2 other job opportunities and they were unrelated to broadcasting. Yeah, 2. That's it. I was never like, well, NBC called. No, nothing of that ever happened.
Pretty
Tony, you've had opportunities.
Yeah, but this has always been good. This has always been good. I did other opportunities while I was still here. Remember when I freelanced?
Yeah, you did the old A10.
I used to do a bunch, right? So I used to do the Westwood One college football game of the week back when Jack was, from like 80, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. And I would do that, and I would leave on Fridays and go do those games.
That's right.
And then Jack got sick in 96, and that's when the twins were born in 95. And so there was like 3 little dudes, and like that made all the sense in the world to stay put.
You had a great, you may not remember, you had a great game. I think it was on Christmas Day, football game. Was it East Carolina and somebody? And it was
That was actually the Peach Bowl.
The Peach Bowl. I remember listening to you, and that was an unbelievable game.
Unbelievable game. It was.
You remember that?
Yeah, it was January 1st.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
1992. I did the game with the former Atlanta Falcons coach, Lehman Bennett. It was the final football game ever in Fulton County Stadium.
Nice.
And East Carolina came back and beat NC State behind Jeff Blake, and their tight end was one of the all-time greatest names, Carlester Crumpler.
That's right.
Played in the league for a long time. He was pro for a while.
And because it was national radio and they didn't have like things set up, we sat in the stands and they had put like some plywood.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. Put some plywood up. And I absolutely remember Jeff Campbell did stats for me. I picked him up in Beckley, and he parked his car at the Hilton Hotel in Beckley. And we drove right when the game was over, we jumped in our car. I drove home. And someone stole Soup's Steelers license plate off of his car. You talk about white hot mad. He was losing his mind.
That's a good memory on your part.
Yeah. I know. You know how I remember that game?
Why?
Because Big Michael Caridi, who's now 31, I had to leave the house the day before the game and drive to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael got croup for the first time. So here's your little baby, and like had never been sick, and then he sounded like a seal.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget walking out the door, and I'm looking at Joan, and like she's holding Michael. I'm like, and I'm going like, oh, this is not good. Not good. So props to Joan. Props to Joan for that one, and then those two other little wieners that were running around. She basically
reference.
Yeah, took care of the whole thing. Anyway, this is Chris from Marietta via Mullins. A few years back, the basketball team had a horrible season, but Hugs beat Pitt and Kansas. That gave fans something. We just don't need to beat VPI. We have to beat those font-stealing turkeys on that hayfield they call a campus. Wow.
VPI reference.
That was a little
old school.
That was like the VPI references.
You like that?
Yeah.
That was a little direct.
I like people go old school.
My dad grew up in Virginia, and it was always VPI.
Never moved off that.
No, never moved.
Yeah.
I like that.
For those that are younger that are listening, VPI stands for Virginia Polytechnic Institute. That's how they used to be known. And I don't know if it still says it on the stadium, but it used to say home of the Fighting Gobblers. So I don't know if it's still there. Texter writes, Scope, Senator, and Hoppy. I had an incident this spring I've been waiting for the Virginia Tech Week to text you about. My wife and I are buying plants at a local garden place near Fincastle, Virginia. I see some tomatoes and explain to my wife, look, some world-famous San Marzano tomato plants. There was a person next to me who said, world famous? Really? So I gave him an overview of the tomatoes from Italy while lamenting that I didn't have any of the local Italian soil. He said, quote, huh? Never heard of them. To which I thought, how could this person be so uneducated and uninformed about something as important as San Marzano tomatoes? Then it became clear. He had on a Virginia Tech football T-shirt. Love the show and the tomatoes. Paul from Fincastle.
Tremendous job by Paul to hold it till this week.
It was.
Yeah,
He held back on that.
I would have spurted that one out earlier, but great job. Thank
My
you,
wife
very much.
had made a pizza over the weekend, and she had the sauce. It was San Marzano, and I quizzed her and said, I said, now is this real San Marzano sauce?
And did she give you shut up?
Yeah, I shut up.
Good.
I'm making pizza. Be quiet.
Yeah, it's good. Ted from Colorado. I was thinking about quarterback success at West Virginia since Geno Smith. He was the last high school recruit to succeed at quarterback. Every other quarterback has been a transfer. What does that say about recruiting? Well, Ted, I'm glad you answered and asked. I looked up your answer. What it says about recruiting, Ted, is that the days of recruiting high school quarterbacks and having them grow in your program doesn't happen often. Some statistical information to back that up. 46%, actually it's 47%, this season of starting quarterbacks at the Power 5 level, 47% are transfers. 46 of the 61 of the Power 5, that's 75%, are Power 5 transfers, with 27 of those starting at Power 5 schools. 5 transfer starters are former 5-star recruits, and that includes West Virginia's J.T. Daniels, Quinn Ears at Texas, Bo Nix, Spencer Rattler, and Caleb Williams. There were 13 5-star quarterbacks in 2018 through 2021. That means 39% of the 5 stars transferred. 12 of the 61 starters are former Group of 5 quarterbacks, 2 FCS transfers, and 1 from Division II. So,
wow.
Point to all that is this, man. More so than any other position, the transfer portal has opened up a window and quarterbacks roll. And so the days of getting Johnny high school big man on the campus and bringing him in here probably are gone. You better be unbelievably good at getting guys on the bounce. West Virginia has done that. That's where we're going. You don't have time anymore to bring a true freshman in here and hope that he works out. Go get something
we might
that
have
you
an
know.
exception.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, but Nico's going to get a redshirt year, right? So he'll have been here a full winter plus a season. Yeah, you hope. You hope so.
You don't know.
Well, my aversion to transfer quarterbacks went out the window a decade ago probably. But when I saw Oklahoma go Baker to Kyler and both win Heisman trophies, and that's Oklahoma that's doing that, whatever. Get him wherever you can.
How about Jalen Hurts? Was he any good?
Well, he followed immediately. Yeah. Well, no, he was a disappointment. He was only a finalist. He did not win the award.
Yeah.
I mean, West Virginia now has this, and I wondered watching those 4 quarterbacks. That was so much fun. But I in the back of my mind, I'm thinking you cannot possibly keep all 4.
How can you?
It's impossible. Brad, you disagree somewhat, though.
Well, I don't know. I mean, nobody went anywhere this year. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Visual, for those of you watching, please direct your attention to your screen. This picture was sent in. Brad was right. Here's the window at Ruby where the ball hit on that bogus interference call in the Kansas game. So you see there it is, a hole right in the window of the hospital. That was the
that's about where it was.
That was the ball where
Flags came flying.
Kansas's pass got ruled as interference, even though it was, as you could see, probably uncatchable.
You would send that to the
supervisor.
Send that to the supervisor of officials.
Yeah,
well done.
Texter,
appreciate the support.
Long-time listener since day one. My question revolves around the Virginia Tech side. Everyone streams nowadays. Why can't we have an option when streaming games to select our own announcers to listen to? Here's the idea. Scopes, Trey Hops, and spreads. Pull some strings, get moving. Just credit me when it comes to fruition.
Well, now wait a minute.
What?
Is that, and Tony, you do the official broadcast, the play-by-play, and we have our own broadcast where we don't do the play, but we talk about the plays after they happen, so you could put on the stream and turn the sound down and listen to us.
So there is an audio option for what he's asking for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
there is
what
an
you're
audio
saying.
option.
Not a video option, but there's an audio option.
Well, I think going forward,
go ahead.
what he's talking about is something that I do think is coming. they're talking about it at least, that when you watch a stream of a game, i.e., for example, NFL on Amazon Thursday Prime,
Mm-hmm.
I do think we're going to get to a point we're already seeing different versions of the broadcast, and there is some talk that eventually down the road, and I got a buddy of mine who's big boy at ESPN that's in kind of doing this stuff. You wonder if you do get to a point where you have audio options to take in different feeds. We see it during the NCAA championship game where you can bring in, if it's North Carolina against Kansas, you could take the North Carolina radio feed, the Kansas radio feed. I think maybe it might be at least in a talking stage.
Well, real quick, Amazon did this on Thursday, Hoppy, and I know this isn't for everybody as much as I like the numbers, though. They had a broadcast where it was still the announcers. You could still hear the Al Michaels and Herb Street, but the L bar around the game had advanced analytics going on the sides.
Wow.
And then on the screen, it was the next-gen stats, so they pulled the camera out so you could see the all-22. So you could see the back end of the defense, the defensive backs, what's happening.
Yeah, I like that.
So you're pulled out, but you're further away, so it's harder to see who's who. So they had graphics. Now you got to get used to the graphics. So if you're not used to looking at these kind of diagrams, it might make you nuts. But I loved it. It put circles around the receivers with the name, and then when they were in a route, they had the line being drawn as if you know how Dunlap always draws the X's and O's. Yeah. It was that, but in live game action around it. It was awesome.
That is.
It was an awesome way to watch the game. Now that'll be very niche. That won't be for the majority of the viewers, but it was awesome.
But for younger people, it's just another step to getting closer to look like a video game.
Very video game-esque.
Right? Exactly.
Yep,
so
exactly
video gamers, they just go like, by the way, our
Yeah.
boy Noah Johnson, the great Madden player, they brought him out between the third and the fourth quarter the other day at the stadium. He had his national championship trophy, held that bad boy up.
Yeah, that's great.
Say he's number 2 in the world.
Where?
In the world.
That's awesome.
Number 2 in the world.
But by the way, as they move on to these high-end graphics, also they need to do something that makes it easier to actually get the game, because our man here about blew a fuse on Saturday. Just about blew a fuse.
Well, you guys go do it over at the other building?
Yeah, we're over there. We're over at the Greer building, not at the Miller
Eventually got there, but it wasn't the easiest process.
building. He was very upset.
I like when he gets mad. It's awesome.
Oh, he was hot.
Texter, Tony, I knew just as soon as you said that Casey Legg is perfect on the season that you jinxed him. Why do you say things like that? You should know better. Talking about extra points? Well, here's my response to you. You should know better and pay attention.
Yeah.
Casey Legg didn't miss the extra point. Parker Grotehouse did.
That's right.
Casey Legg is still perfect. Texter, hello, Dylan from Charleston, longtime listener, first-time texter. I love racking up the points. I think it was much needed to make a statement by blowing the Tigers out. The younger QBs looked good. C.J. Donaldson is special. I can't wait to see his talents flourish. The defense needed this confidence booster big time. Now, let's see if we can carry this into Blacksburg Thursday. I have not lost faith in Neil Brown like a lot of Mountaineer Nation has.
Hey, that big run by Donaldson, there was good blocking, but he also broke 2 tackles and outran guys.
Mm-hmm.
240 pounds. How about that?
Pretty impressive run.
Yeah.
Texter, and I've been trying to get this answer, and I've asked people, when was the last time West Virginia had 4 quarterbacks play in the same game, and each quarterback was responsible for a touchdown?
You know what? I bet never.
Never's probably
I know
pretty
that
good.
you should probably take the field on that, but Brad, I might take never on that.
Coach Hunter will probably find that, right?
Yeah, I'll find out.
He'll come back. He's down in a room somewhere, like in a dusty room somewhere today, like trying to find 1872. Rat Rogers' uncle played for Mountaineers. He's 4 quarterbacks, but one was an end.
I mean, maybe you'd have to go back to when they just snapped it to a guy.
Yeah, that's a good question. Greg in Catlettsburg.
I tell you what, not in the modern era, right?
No. Greg in Catlettsburg, with all due respect, Rutgers is halfway to bowl eligibility. We're 1-2. Just the facts. How about Kansas? Do they reach a bowl? How about Nico's sweet TD drop-in? And with a nationally recognized Hall of Fame crew, I can't see how this thing doesn't make it to 800 episodes. Also, Hoppy is an all-timer that's grown exponentially, but I still cannot place that above stopping a taxiing airplane to get a signature. That's a really good point, Greg. I mean, does Hoppy from Pat White trump WVU basketball assistant Jim Amick telling the airport person that they need to bring the airplane back after it rolled out?
No, that's bigger.
And signing Lowe's Moore.
That's epic right there.
I'd say they're top two, but nod probably goes to pulling an airplane
Those
back.
are both good ones.
Yeah.
By the way,
Well, a degree of difficulty with pulling the airplanes back, but the hoppy ones,
it's
pretty strong.
Speaking of Rutgers, they had a big showdown with Temple Saturday.
Yeah, Rutgers out. He's right. They are halfway there. Boston College, Wagner, and Temple. Here's who's left for the Scarlet Knights: Iowa, Ohio State, Nebraska, Indiana, Minnesota, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, Maryland. They start 3-0. They might not get to a bowl. Now remember, they got to a bowl last year because of cancellations and weird stuff. They were 5-7, got into the Gator Bowl there.
They might.
Got greased.
They might.
I think they had to call
Where's their 3 wins there?
Didn't they have to go to Australia and have their punter come back to the States?
Yeah, he was gone.
He was gone.
You got Michigan State's overvalued. Maryland, maybe. They're inconsistent.
They're on the Rutgers on the road at Maryland.
Road at Maryland.
Maryland's scoring points this year, Rob.
It might be tough.
I tell you
Iowa,
what, how about that Michigan State loss? They pay that coach like $670 million.
Yeah, that was a good extension. Last year, $95 million. I mean, you should never lose again, should you?
Not for that money. No. Texter, hey, y'all. Excuse me. Cough, scope, spreads, and H3. Am I the only one who hasn't jumped off the ledge through 3? I mean, yeah, Kansas was a bad loss, but after this week, KU is 3-0 and actually looks really decent. Anyways, I'm not worried about West Virginia, honestly. I hope that this team rallies and does well the remaining season. I love this team, and whether they go 10-2, 2-10, I support them just the same. Texter says, I saw a tweet from a reporter from The Athletic who tweeted that these were the football records after 3 weeks. Kansas, 3-0. Kentucky, 3-0. North Carolina, 3-0. Duke, 3-0. Syracuse, 3-0. UCLA, 3-0. And Indiana, 3-0. This is why I loved college football. You'd think that was NCAA men's basketball, but it's not, and I'm here for it all. I love football, and this has been such a fantastic start to the season.
It rarely disappoints, this sport. It rarely disappoints on field. By the way, a couple notes. Syracuse lucky to get out of there at 3-0. That was a tight one. Thank God. Thank you, Syracuse. For some of us of us were more interested than others in that one, but thank you.
Some thought the game was over.
Dino Babers has them rolling.
He does. The other part, did UCLA 3-0 on the way to the Big Ten there. Did you see the attendance there for UCLA's home game?
I saw Troy Aikman just rip them.
Troy Aikman lost his mind on Twitter about it. There are more people in this studio, I think, than were at the UCLA game. Give or take.
They don't draw.
Don't draw.
It's a
Go
small,
look at the picture. I mean,
it's a small rural area. Where are fans supposed to come? You know how long it takes to
it's
get
not an on-campus facility.
I mean, thank God it's just a TV sport, and it doesn't matter what happens inside stadiums, so they're fine. They're fine. Big media market. I'm sure there was only about 1,200 people at the game, give or take. I don't know if that's official. I haven't confirmed that. But I'm sure there were millions watching on TV that were UCLA fans. They just didn't want to go to the game. I'm sure that brand carries enough juice that you would tune in on TV but not go to the game.
Yeah. Texter, am I crazy, or does C.J. Donaldson have a little Steve Slayton in him? John in L.A., I don't see that, John. I mean, the thing that comes to my mind would be K.J. Harris.
Breaking tackles, man.
Yeah, I don't see Stevie. Stevie was just so
shifty
fast.
He was just fast.
Fast and shifty. CJ is more, when you say KJ Harris, closest thing?
By size, yeah.
We had a lot of questions. Let me put some clarity to something. We had a lot of questions to us about the ESPN broadcast on Saturday, and they experienced technical problems with their audio. And let me make the record clear, because there was at least some that was out there that thought that the Mountaineers Sports Network video side produced that game. No, zero. They had nothing to do with the production of the game. That was an ESPN production. They hire the people to come in and produce it. They had an audio issue, apparently.
Oh, they did.
And which always breaks my heart. You know, when I find out that TV's got audio problems, it just crushes my heart.
Because you don't want anybody to.
And but anyway, from what I was told, the MSN people, they have their remote production vehicle. They're the ones that produce the highlights onto the scoreboard.
Okay.
The MSN video people helped out the ESPN people and gave them a piece of gear off of their truck so that they could get their audio straight. But that was an ESPN production. And a lot of people say, hey, we're paying this money for this subscription service. It should be better. We're not ESPN Plus. We're just three guys before the game. So contact ESPN.
And they're and I'm not defending ESPN, certainly, but I mean, they're doing it on a shoestring, right? I mean,
Well, that's their fault.
Yeah, it's their issue.
I mean, that's
They're
up to
not
them.
charging us a shoestring.
I mean, that's up to them. But no, but that's what happened on Saturday. That was an ESPN production.
Well, I mean, people are paying a fee for that.
Yeah.
Care what their production costs are. If you're paying a fee for that,
I mean, we don't want
good. And
Well,
they raised the price.
That's the whole thing about. I mean, if you just ESPN's part of your package, then there's all this stuff there, and you might be upset at the size of your cable bill. That's up to you. But there's a bunch of stuff there. But if you specifically pay for a thing to watch a thing, it feels more personal, right? Like, what the hell, I paid.
Sure.
But again, listen to you.
Radio's always there.
Or
You.
just have the video on and listen to us. My gosh, it's not exactly an accurate description of the game, but it's a discussion of the game.
Philip in Tampa. After hearing my last text read from the Kansas game, I now know I need to wait a full 24 hours after a loss to ensure I don't lost text. It's like drunk texting, but with a touch more depression and a healthy amount of self-loathing. Anyways, it is amazing what a win will do for morale. Doesn't matter who it's against. Facebook fans feel so good that they have us back in the Big 12 championship game at 10-2. Who knows? Lastly, I want to congratulate Tony and Hoppy. Tony, new accolades. Hoppy, best journalist in America.
I think it says North America, so
world.
Central America and South America is a lot of people better than I am.
Philip continues, I propose we give Brad an award. Maybe with that beard, we give him the manliest mountaineer of Monongalia, or make it bet-related with sweetest spreads of the South. In any case, you're all A1 in my book. Thanks as always. Here's to the next 300 to 400 shows. Philip in Tampa.
Again, spreads was 8-0. That's in your field.
One day.
That's remarkable.
He just plays the next play, Hoppy.
One day, Hoppy.
Hey, three guys, great feeling to hear country roads after a win. Is what we saw on Saturday the result of improvement, just playing a cupcake, or a mixture of both? Obviously, with Kansas winning, it makes the loss hurt slightly less. Scopes, maybe the next time you see Neil, you can suggest Comac's Business Systems to do a complete diagnosis of the team before we go into Blacksburg. Well, they'd probably be up for that. They could do that from a technical standpoint, IT and things like that. P1 Jason in Dallas. Haven't heard from him in a couple of shows, have we?
Yeah, I think he texted last show, didn't he?
Yeah, whatever. What a short episode that last one was. You guys got to kick it up a notch. We can't have Hall of Fame broadcasters going only an hour and a half. That stuff's for other podcasters. In sincerity, congratulations on the Hall of Fame. I'd be willing to bet you've got a second Hall of Fame in you for something food-related. Guess we'll have to wait and see. Since Hoppy will only share his Subway order vicariously, I'd like to share mine. Foot-long spicy Italian on Italian herbs and cheese bread, American cheese, add the bacon, toasted. Then add banana peppers and creamy sriracha. Toss in 3 chocolate chip cookies, and there you go.
3?
Subway likes to talk about eating healthy. If that's your goal, my order ain't it.
Not with 3 cookies.
Stats question. 4 different quarterbacks scoring a touchdown. Has it ever happened? Yeah, we got to find that out. Well, we're efforting on that, Jason. By the way, Jason, I'm serious. Your butt better be at the original Pancake House in Lubbock when West Virginia plays at Texas Tech. 6:30 a.m. 6:30 a.m. You, me, and Dwight Wallace were sitting in the U-shaped thing where it's kind of like where people just sit, and we're going to have breakfast. And I'm buying.
6:30?
Yeah, because, we get up early.
All right.
Because it's 7:30 really back in the East when it's 6:30 there. So it's just an easy bounce. No problem.
Now they're in the Central Time Zone.
Texas Tech?
Yeah.
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 Hey, guys, Andy in Columbus. Sorry for the long text. I think I found the secret to our success on Saturday. I loved listening to the last episode and hearing Tony tell his Uber Eats story. My jaw dropped when I heard him say he ordered a large blizzard. I have only known people to order large blizzards so they can keep half for the next day, but I have no doubt Tony housed the whole thing since it was in his window. Going off of Tony's description, I'm going to assume he got the Choco Brownie Extreme Blizzard. That's exactly what I got.
Was it?
Yeah. That being said, which is more, the amount of passing yards Towson had on Saturday or the amount of carbohydrates Tony consumed by devouring that blizzard? Well, here's your answer. Towson's passing was 98 yards. Tony's consumed carbohydrates 111. Thank you very much, Andy. That's detailed work on your part. Let me say something
That's
here,
heavy
brother.
carb right
Let me
there.
just tell you something. I could probably say this under oath. I have never ordered anything in my life and thought in my head at that point, I'll eat half and you save the next for tomorrow. Like, that thought has never crossed my mind once, ever. Like some people did. Well, I'll order it now, and I'll have half of it for now and then half for tomorrow. Like, if it's on my plate, man, that's freaking going down.
I'll save a little bit for later. Maybe tomorrow.
That ain't me, man. But that's
Kill
great
it.
work on your part.
Good admission on your part, too.
Yeah, never. This is obviously a case of causation and not simply correlation. Tony, the Hokies are averaging 226 passing yards per game. Order accordingly this week. Mountaineer Nation is counting on you. So he's saying, I think that's a lot of carbohydrates, like 226. I'll find something.
Yeah, but you like carb-loaded foods.
I went way too heavy carbs this
That's
weekend.
all those sugars.
I
man.
did pizza on Saturday night, and then I made pasta yesterday. I had a lot of carbs.
That doesn't even count if you've made
You know,
your own
but,
bread.
You know, Tony, on you.
Oh, I also made 2 loaves of
Yeah,
bread.
see, there you go.
So you've never ordered something and said, I'll save some of it. To me, when you take on mass quantities of food, it's not as though you just get to a point where you eventually stop. Like if there's a whole bunch of food,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you don't finish everything all the time, do you?
Depends if it's good. If
Well, he
it's
stops
good.
very often.
If something's really good,
Yeah.
very rarely do I not. There's one place where I
Carmine's?
struggle. No. There's a place in Pittsburgh called Alla Familia, and they've got a double-stuffed veal chop, which is a smoke and mirror thing. It's massive. But you have to gauge and properly eat the pregame meal before you get to that veal chop. They got some marinated chickpeas in there. And those things are dense.
Yeah.
If you start going down that route early, you're never going to get that veal chop.
So you're working.
My guys always kill me when we go there because I one time said I had a situation there one night, and I said I'm going to compete. I told those guys before. I said I'm competing tonight because these guys they house it. Well, certain situations took place during the course of the lead up to it. I couldn't put my fork into the veal chop when it got it. Couldn't put my fork.
What?
Couldn't put my fork in it. Had a situation. I just did some things and couldn't compete. And those guys being totally sympathetic, you'd think,
No.
well, let's wrap it up.
No.
I mean, Dino Colombo was with me. I sit next to him. He reaches over, big knife, big. He just started shearing that thing. They let me know that a lot, that I did not compete. Texter, couple of thoughts. I'm interested to see how playing Lance Dixon as the spear will work as the season goes. I think having him, Koba, and X-Ray Low on the field together may work well. Dixon, versatile. That can do many things. Very hopeful this change works out. Texter, Virginia Tech probably a few steps below Pitt and Kansas. How about them Jayhawks? If we take care of ourselves and play a clean game, I think we will have a great chance to win by 2 possessions. There's the rare 2 possessions in football analogy. Logan in Myrtle Beach. I hope you all have time to answer my question. I know you run an extensively prepared and regulated show. Tony, can you use the bread recipe you posted a few years back to make focaccia? It's my go-to bread recipe, and I wanted to see if I could fancy it up a little. You guys always make me laugh. I love this show. Keep up the great work. Logan, all capital letters here. No, 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 no. Do not use that bread recipe for focaccia. The focaccia is completely different. Completely different. That bread is like an 18-hour raise. The focaccia, you can get it done in about 6-7 hours. But the whole key to the focaccia is to have a light crust. And you develop that by, believe it or not, using Yukon potatoes, boiling them, emulsifying them, making a potato puree, and using that as your liquid when you blend that with the dough. And that puree needs to be about 120 degrees, not too hot, not too cold. But that focaccia. So, Logan, I'll try to send you that recipe.
That sounds like.
It's a great focaccia. Just, oof. Texter. King Rob from Reston. We did what we needed to do. No offensive touchdowns, check. Boosted overall confidence in team morale, check. Second, third, even fourth stringers saw some action, check. Scored a boatload of points, which made me very hoppy, check. Now I'm heading down I-81 from Reston to Blacksburg on Thursday to cheer on the old gold and blue. Let's keep the Black Diamond Trophy where it belongs. Sticking to my preseason prediction, West Virginia 38-17 over the Chokies. Boy, another shot against those poor guys. Should be a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever we may be. Texter, hey, Tony, it's Jordan from here in Morgantown. Can you hook Neil Brown up with Comax Business Systems so he can keep a closer eye on C.J. Donaldson's phone and laptop and whatever else to prevent him from being a Miami Hurricane or a USC Trojan this time next year? Thanks, and I love the show.
Yep. That was well done, Jordan.
Jordan, I would say this on a serious note. Unfortunately, this is the world that we're living in, and we are sitting here thinking the same thing that you're thinking, that players that are identifying themselves, all of a sudden now you've got to go like, oh, stress out. How do you make sure that you keep them? Because, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, we're going to reach a point of saturation for fans. And I truly do believe that when you start losing guys, whether it's this program, another program, but fans as a whole, when they start seeing players getting picked off like that, they're going to say, you know what? Piss on this. I'm out. That's what's going to happen. I'm done. Because you don't like it. That's what's going to happen. And it's already happening, some. But that's what's going to happen.
Some people said that about the first time coaches made $1 million, too.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying.
Sport has survived through a ton of change, and it continues to thrive.
And it's never been bigger. Schools have never been making more. I mean, TV's still paying crazy money. Players are getting crazy money. Ticket prices are high. Yeah, Tony, there might be a saturation point, but it's not yet. Hasn't happened yet.
Bill writes in, he's a class of West Virginia 65. Class of 65.
A little before me.
That would be 57 years ago, which makes him about
10 years older than I am. 10, 12 years older than I am.
Yeah. I want Neil Brown to be successful. He has all the qualities, both personally and professionally, that I want as a coach of West Virginia to have. I think Brad's comment a couple shows ago was insightful when he said West Virginia was searching for a new coach. They'd be looking for someone exactly like Neil Brown. As we head to Blacksburg, it would be good for all West Virginia fans to remember that Frank Beamer was 24-40 in his first 6 years at Tech and 2-8-1 in his 6th year. He then went 9-3, never looked back on his way to the Football Hall of Fame. We need to have patience and stop the negativity at my age. I am dangerously close to blast-off time and would like to see West Virginia have one more good run before that happens. I believe Neil Brown is the coach that can make it happen. I've never seen that term blast-off time. My dad always used to say, I'm getting close to going on vacation.
Really?
That's what he'd say. Getting close to going on vacation here. Blast-off time's a good way to put it. John from Alabama. Hello. I'll be making the drive over from Huntsville to Blacksburg to meet up with my brother who's driving from Parkersburg. We're both loyal listeners of the show and compete to see whose texts get read on the show and the level of reaction to the text.
Oh, my gosh.
To get the leg up on my brother going into this weekend, I'm hoping to get read today. Quick question. Is there any event that we can show up to support on game day, or even a way to get a picture with Hall of Famer Tony in Blacksburg? Anyway, feeling better about the team after the Towson beatdown. I'm hoping our offensive line can find their inner Dean Stein coolers this week and dominate the line of scrimmage. Let's go Mountaineers. I hope, John, you have a good day there.
I'm sorry, Mr. Creedy will not be available for public appearances.
I love when Dean Stein Cooler makes it into the
Dean
text.
Stein Cooler.
Did Benetti do a game recently and he brought up Stein cooler?
Did he?
I think someone texted me that. I think Benetti brought up Stein cooler.
How would Don Cricky say it when he comes around the inside?
Well, he would say, here come the Cornhuskers with Dean Stein cooler.
Stein Cooler was not there Saturday.
Oh,
My goodness. Brad, was there a post-firing bounce back?
there was not. Credit Oklahoma.
Oh,
They came out and smashed.
Hey, what's the dude's name? Mickey Joseph is their interim.
Yeah.
Worst thing you could ever do when you're the interim coach is to take it, like when you get beat your first game after, that's on me. That's like, don't do that. Like, if he wants the job, don't put that on you. Just go like, obviously a big week of transition. We're going to be better.
We got to work on. We got to work on getting better.
Yeah, he said, put that on me. Well, that's almost like if you had no shot, now you have less than no shot.
by the way, it's the one time you can say with certitude, it's his fault. It's not my fault. You better take it then, because you don't get too many of those opportunities.
Texter, 65-7 is about as good as you can get, and we didn't even run up the score. Reminds me of beating Schiano and Rutgers 80-7 in 01. We threw one pass in the second half. You all ever think Greg Schiano still has nightmares of Sean Hackett's pick six, or when he threw the ball out of the stadium? Speaking of of that, Neil Brown and every West Virginia football coach should look around at our record against Rutgers and ask the AD, why aren't we playing that Power 5 school non-conference? I wonder if Rutgers would be willing to play the Mountaineers.
It's just for old time's sake.
I mean, recruiting-wise, it wouldn't hurt you to be in and get a little jersey, would it, Brad?
Brad doesn't.
No, it'd be great. I'd put that on there.
You like that?
Yeah.
I wonder
I'd
if
take
they'd play.
Rutgers right now. You haven't lost to them in 72 years.
We'd take Rutgers.
Ladies and gentlemen, our
Rutgers
last...
with a lot of appearances in the text today.
What's that?
Rutgers with a lot of appearances in the text
It's
today.
like we have this affinity for Rutgers. I mean, I still pay attention to them. You know that? It's something like I can't get away from. Like, oh, what's a Rutgers?
One of our P1... one of our
Because we've been there so many times.
Did it for a long time.
Yeah,
It
but
beat
like-
them every time.
I know.
It's like an old girl. It's like an old girlfriend, like a former
I wonder what
relationship.
she's up to.
I wonder what Karen's. Karen on Facebook? Like, what's going on?
But the one difference is that you have really fond memories of Rutgers because you just beat them all the time, right? We'd always have good meals,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
and you'd come back with a win. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
get any better than that on all the road trips.
You're right. No. We have a P1 listener that's got Rutgers, right? Jason Baum. I mean, he went Rutgers. We went West Virginia, Rutgers, Boston College. Now he's at Creighton. Second in charge at Creighton. He listens. He congratulated us on our 400th podcast.
He does. I'm sure he gets bummed out when we talk about Rutgers, but
Yeah, I
we're not
wonder if
talking
he
about
does.
you, Jason. We're
I
just,
wonder if he does.
Yeah, he probably does.
Do you think he does?
Yeah,
With all due respect.
he's one of the all-time
All
great.
due respect.
great guys.
Hey, so I got three things actually before we go away. Shout out to my folks. John Nardelli is the executive director of a group called Change Your State, Healthy Harrison. What is that, you may ask, Hoppy? It's
what
a
is that?
coalition to measurably improve the health and the wellness of the citizens in Harrison County. By highlighting local heroes, we hope to motivate, educate, and inspire the community to begin taking micro steps towards a healthier lifestyle. So they, I worked them a little bit, and they sent me this nice T-shirt.
Oh,
Really,
okay.
how smooth is that? I mean, how soft is that? Ooh,
Nice.
that's nice, Under Armour. The other thing is, last show we talked about the fight in the Skylar Howard's arena team, and Hoppy hadn't seen
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Taylor, put the video up of the fight. Check this out, Hoppy. Warbirds are in action. Got some words.
Which one's the Warbird?
That doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter.
You'll see real quick. Got some words being exchanged, and now see this big lineman here
Yeah.
going up. Okay, so teams are leaving the field, and then
Game's over?
Someone says something that doesn't go over quite well. And now, into the stands we go. But wait, it gets worse or better depending on which way you look at it.
Who's that guy dancing like encouraging?
Hoppy, do you see that guy with a helmet? Just whack that dude now. Someone comes out of the stands.
That wasn't our banner that got ripped down. Our Burdett Camping Center 3 guys banner.
Oh my God.
So we're swinging, but wait till this thing goes up into the stands, Hoppy. It's going to go up in the stands, and one of the players will take on a spectator up in the stands. Not a good day to be a warbird wherever you may be.
Oh my goodness.
Look at that helmet.
Geez, he is swinging a helmet.
Crazy.
So
by the way,
relationship with the Warbirds is
we don't condone that activity.
on hiatus? That is bad.
We don't condone it. Last text. Scopes, Dean, Senator, there is no denying Thursday in Blacksburg will determine the narrative for the next month in the program. After watching Kansas beat Houston, you'd have to say those guys are pretty good. The defense in the Neil Brown era has always been a strength. Am I putting too much faith in them to say I can definitely expect some big improvement by the time we get finished with October?
Well, you got a tough stretch here. I mean, you got Virginia Tech, then Texas, and Baylor. Is that right? Baylor after Texas?
Baylor's after Texas.
That's,
Off week after Texas, and then
but then Baylor. A little tough stretch here.
Yeah. Hoping to enter November at least 5-3 due to our offense. Texas got a fight from the Roadrunners, and Baylor has never won in Morgantown. We are due to finally beat Tech as well. Attempting to stay positive, signed Blaine on the porch. There you go. Hall of Fame on this past Saturday.
How'd that go?
It went well.
Stedman was there. Was Stedman there?
Stedman spoke, did a really nice job, wore his jersey from one of the bowl games that had Leave No Doubt on it. And he said, I'm giving a shout-out. Bill Stewart got a couple of shout-outs from Gino. Gino did a really nice video, really from the heart.
Saw it, but I haven't listened to
really
it
nice.
yet.
He mentioned Stu and said, hey, man, if it wasn't for Stu. And then Stedman said that, Leave No Doubt from Stu.
Mm-hmm.
That's been his
mantra.
His philosophy on everything that he's gone through. Obviously, he talked about being shot, ending his NFL career, and that Leave No Doubt has been. So, yeah, it was good. It was good.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Stu should get a shout-out for those guys.
Yeah. So we've got a different schedule this week because of the Thursday game. We're going to be back here on a Friday, and we'll do our thing on Friday. So what's the let's have one of those on-air production meetings right now. Do we tape Friday morning, or do we tape Friday regular afternoon?
Regular.
I'm not going to, since I'm going to get home about 5, I'm not going to complain. I'll go with you on that.
Regular.
And then next week, we're going to just go regular, Monday.
Back to Monday, Thursday.
Monday, Thursday.
Correct.
All right. Special thanks to everyone for writing in. Thanks to our producer, Taylor Kennedy, who's been elevated here within the company.
Big moment.
Now a full-time employee. Hoppy and I went, or I should say Brad and I went to Hoppy, pleading that they make Jonathan Taylor County, Tyler Consolidated Kennedy a full-time employee at 4 years. He's been here since he started school. He's graduated last December. And Hoppy for, it's been 6-7 months now, Brad, kept saying, no, we're not making him full-time. Finally, we got Hoppy to acquiesce, and now Taylor is a full-time employee.
We were in negotiations. His people were talking.
Were you
to my
surprised he
people.
hasn't had an agent for an entry-level position?
It did surprise me.
Yeah.
Are you bummed out he squeezed you for 2 $10 Boston Beanery gift cards instead of the one that's standard?
I wasn't going to give that up, but I had to in the end.
All right, everyone.
What he did know is I said, I'll give you 2 certificates.
You had 3.
But they're only $5 each instead of 10.
Dealing from underneath
Got the
deck.
last laugh on that.
All right, we're out back again on a Friday afternoon. We'll drop as we recap West Virginia, Virginia Tech. Huge game. I don't need to tell you all that. Let's see how she plays out. Be good for the Dean, for spreads. First time I've ever used that in context. For spreads, for Hoppy, we be out. See you.